Welcome back to the channel. It's good to see you. You're looking fantastic. This video is for those of you that are thinking about doing van life, thinking about living in a vehicle, maybe in an RV, maybe a smaller vehicle. Whatever it is, there are limitations in comparison to living on the grid, like an apartment, a house. These are some of the challenges, some of the limitations that do come with living this lifestyle. And at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you the best places that you can find to combat some of these limitations. Let's get right into it. The biggest limitation by far is water, especially if you're thinking about staying out there for a while, if you're going off-grid, if you're going dispersed camping, all these wonderful, beautiful, scenic places that allow you to get outside and stay outside for much longer. If you live on-grid, in an apartment, your house, whatever it is, for the most part, you wake up in the morning, you turn on your faucet, you turn on your shower, hot shower, cold shower, whatever it is, unlimited water. You can stay in the shower as long as you want, you can take a few a day, you get the gist. In a vehicle, it's obviously a lot harder, not only to get water, but to carry water. Water's heavy, it takes a lot of space. You don't realize it when you're on grid, but it goes really quickly. How much do I carry? Underneath the sink, I have a 5-gallon water jug. Behind the front driver's seat, I have 2 more 1-gallon water jugs that I usually mainly use for cooking or making tea, making coffee, things of that nature. On the roof, I have another water jug that holds about 6.5 gallons of water. I usually have that empty on the roof, but I do take it down and fill it up if I know I'm going to be out there for a very long time, which will help me with the showers. And we're going to talk about showers just a little bit later. All combined, I can carry around 13.5 gallons of water. May seem like a lot, but it's not. Now, if there's a built-out camper, they may have different sizes water tanks. You can have a smaller one, like 20, let's say, up to like 100 gallons. If you have anything less than 40 gallons, it all depends on the gross vehicle weight rating, and that has to be kept in mind. If you're building your own van, manufacturers already know what it is, so they'll put a tank according to what the vehicle can carry safely. Because of limited water, everything takes longer. You have to plan ahead to find spots to fill up with water. I find that I just fill up my water at those filtered water stations that you go with a 5-gallon jug and fill them up, or 1 gallon, whatever. Works really well. That's the reason I have a 5-gallon water jug underneath the sink and the 2 1-gallon water jugs, because they have the option to fill up 1 gallon or 5 gallons. Plus, this is not a fixed water jug. I have to actually carry it out, carry it back in. So 5 gallons seems pretty right. Anything bigger than that, it's just gonna be a struggle. If you have the opportunity to fill up at a family member's house or a friend's house and they allow it, that's great. You have a very good friend. They do make these filters that you can buy at different stores. I think Walmart has them as well in their like RV section, where you can buy a filter that you hook up to the hose, and then that goes straight to the spigot. So basically the filter is between the spigot and the hose that goes into your RV, and that filters the water. Those are always a great thing to have. I don't have one. Maybe in the future. They're not too big. It's not a bad investment. Now, talking about showers, that's another huge topic in the mobile lifestyle. There's a few ways to find showers. One, I have a Planet Fitness membership in the United States because 1, it's not too expensive, and 2, they're pretty much everywhere. And they have hydro massages, which I take full advantage of. I digress. Unless you have 40 plus gallons of water, like I mentioned, it's kind of tough to take showers like you would take in a household. Chances are, if you have a small water tank, you either take emergency showers in your vehicle or military showers, which are just kind of rinse, soap, rinse again, and that's how it works. And there are other ways that people keep clean, from like baby wipes to dry shampoo. I've never really used them, so I don't have much experience with that. But there are showers at beaches, they're cold. That's another thing that people take advantage of. And obviously, campground. You wake up in the middle of the night, you wake up in the morning in a house, you have a restroom, you have a toilet. Your business, you flush, think nothing of it. In a vehicle is very different, especially in a small vehicle. For number 2, what I have is just a bucket and then a toilet seat that I bought off of Amazon and sawdust. Is it the best option? Absolutely not. It's cheap, it gets the job done. The sawdust keeps the smells away for the most part. I do dispose of it pretty often. And then for number one, I just have pea jugs and then dispose of those as often as I can. With the option that I have, it's very easy to dispose of. What I basically do is have a black trash bag in the bucket, and then the pea jugs are basically like hydro flasks, or like whatever you call them when you go hiking. That's what they look like. You can't see through them. Now there are very different types of toilets out there, different sizes, different styles you can buy, especially for an RV or a camper. I don't know if you can bend in such a way in a smaller vehicle to have these. So we're going to talk about the ones in a bigger vehicle like mine. Most of the common ones nowadays are chemical toilets, and they could be cassette toilets or they could be actual toilet that has a tank underneath and be taken to any porta potty or any toilet. You do have to buy the chemicals, keep it clean as much as you can, and the garbage truck is here making some noise, so we're gonna wait a little bit for that. It's the beauty of filming in van life. This is my studio with all the elements outside, but we're making it work. Another option for a toilet, which I don't think it's very popular, but it's basically a fancier version of what I have, and that is composting toilets. Composting toilets are actually pretty expensive to buy. They're around $1,000 last time I looked, and I haven't looked since. They're just sealed better, there's no smells, and they're a little bigger, so they're definitely fit for a bigger vehicle. Those work great. Some people love them, some people don't like them as much because they're bulky. However, there are a bunch of companies that are coming up with new products, which I'm also looking at in the future. Can't talk about it because I'm not being sponsored. And we'll leave it as that. Another option that I've seen that's getting a little bit of traction is those bag toilets. And they're kind of automatic or electronic. You definitely have to hook it up to something because you do your business, you press a button and there's a bag that seals everything, and then you can just grab the bag and take it. That sounds like a kind of an expensive option, more of a luxury toilet if you ask me, but they're out there. Last and not least, and this is kind of a common option in big RVs, is a toilet with a black water tank. If you don't know what a gray water tank is and a black water tank is, the gray water tank usually stores your wasted dishwater, your shower water, basically all the soapy water that you use. And then the black water tank is for your business, number one or number two. Some RVs have both. Most of the RVs have just the gray water tank, and they have the other toilets that I talked about before. Whatever you have in your van, it has to be dumped somewhere. The easiest way I find is with a bag or with a chemical toilet. In comparison with the black water tank, you need to go to dump stations. Takes longer, takes a lot more maintenance, especially if you're in cold weather. Those tanks tend to freeze if you don't have them warmed up and everything. So it's a whole ordeal with that. It could be done, it just takes longer. It just takes more planning. You just have to keep that in the back of your mind. How full it is, where you can dump it, how you keep it from freezing, how you keep the smells out, all of that stuff. Hence why I'm making this video. All right, on to the next challenge. When you wake up in a house, you have warm water. If it's a gas stove, then it's hooked up to the grid, light it up, you're good to go. That's kind of an old technology, but on grid, that still exists. Again, one of those things that you don't think about, it's there, it's hooked up, you're good to go. Do I need to say that it's limited in a van? In a van, the same thing. Most of that stuff is used for heating, cooktops, heating hot waters, etc. You have to go fill up. You have to go find it. It's not unlimited. It also goes pretty quickly. What I have in my van is a diesel heater. So I have a separate tank that I put diesel in, and then the heater also uses electricity. It's a 12 volt. We're gonna get into electricity in just a little bit, but that's how I heat up my van. For cooking, I started with a small butane and propane cooktop. Butane is a little bit harder to find than propane in the area that I'm at, but it has to be planned. You have to have backup. In a small space, you have those gases that can leak, and they have to be disposed of properly. That needs to be taken into account. Yes, some RVs, mostly DIYers, have the big 5-pound tanks or 2.5-pound tanks that are refillable. Those are a little bit better, but I just don't see myself taking so much space with the tank. If that's the case in a small vehicle like this, it's very important to have ventilation somehow, like a window, a vent, anything. And of course, a combustible gas detector along with a carbon monoxide detector. I'm not gonna get into those, but they are a must in a van. And also a fire extinguisher. It's always a good idea to have that. Most of the houses in most of the building complexes, they have laundry. You have a place that you know it's always there to go do laundry. In a van, we're taking advantage of the laundromats. We have to find them. We don't know how busy they're gonna be. We don't know how clean they're gonna be. Also, there's a huge challenge in a small space like this of how much clothing you can carry. I myself, in this small van, I can carry about 2 weeks of clothing. That includes underwear, socks, and shirts, and I don't have that many pants, but you know, I wear them multiple days. Another thing in a van that most people don't even think about is where you're gonna put your dirty laundry. I do have one drawer underneath for my dirty clothes only. And it's a huge thing because otherwise I would be piling them up in a bag somewhere and tossing it around the van with dirty clothes. Talking about storage, the next thing is food storage. The same thing. I do have a fridge. I do have these drawers where I use them as a pantry, and I did a little bit of research of what can actually sit outside without being refrigerated and what is absolutely in need of refrigeration. Those are things to think about. Depends how much you eat, depends how much you love to go do grocery shopping. The way I make it work for me is that in the fridge, I keep all the fresh veggies and eggs and all that good stuff. The rest, like canned stuff, citrus, even firm avocados are outside until I need to use them and I can put them in the fridge. Bread, all that good stuff. Last but not least is electric. And this is just gonna be a basic touch on it. I am upgrading my electrical this year. I'm planning to make pretty much a 2-part video because it's gonna be too long for one part. Once it's done, I haven't started yet. I'm still buying all the components for it to get it done right. If you can't wait, I do have a video that I made already on the electric that I have right now, just not the upgraded stuff that's going to be later. You can check it out up here. Again, in a house, you plug stuff in, it's good to go. You pay your bill at the end of the month, and thank you, sir. There are so many options out there, especially if you're in a smaller vehicle. Nowadays, there's a bunch of companies that make these power banks, different sizes. They have different outlets from 12 volt to USB-C to household 110 in the US. They have different ways of charging. Now, I'm not gonna mention any of these companies. Chances are, if you're looking into lifestyle, you already know the companies that do them, the bigger ones, and they're tried and true. You buy them and that's it. There's no installation required. There is just a spot to put them. Like I said, they are different sizes, depends on your needs, but for the most part, you can charge up your laptop, you can even power a small fridge, you can even take it outside and work on your laptop outside if you need. You can do projects outside, like power tools, whatever you need to be using. Those are fantastic options to have. But there are limitations with those systems. The fastest way to charge those are if you go to a house outlet and you can plug them in and they charge pretty fast that way. When it comes to solar, if it's smaller, it works out well. If they're bigger, the bigger the tank, the harder they are to charge with solar. Any power in a van is going to be hard to charge with solar. It's just kind of trickle charging, unless you have a ton of solar on the roof, and even then, it's not really that fast. Again, technology is moving fast. They're getting better and better every year, but from my experience, solar's not all that great. So what's the best way? Well, the on-grid, obviously, shore power, yeah. The way I charge my batteries are with my alternator. When I drive, it charges a lot faster. I have a beefy alternator, so it doesn't die on me because it's only one. I don't have a second one. And I think I have a link on that alternator underneath the video. If not, I'll make sure I'll put it on there. When it comes to the small power banks, those are limited to the cigarette lighter. The cigarette lighter doesn't really have that much power to charge those. So when you're driving, it does help. It's something, but it doesn't charge all that fast. That's pretty much the limitations that I found with these power stations. Also, they have limited ports. so you can only plug so many things in it, and they all have to be in one area because that's where it's at. I myself have a built-out system. I have batteries underneath the bed, I have ports everywhere, I have ports outside. The way I charge is I have 300 watts of solar on the roof. I also have a 200 watts foldable solar panel so I can move it where the sun is, and soon I'm gonna be able to charge from shore power. And these are videos that I'm going to be able to make for the experience, for the scenarios that I've had while living on the road for around 5 years. All I will say that powering stuff in the van, I kept it as much as I could 12 volt. For example, my fridge is 12 volt. I try to power my laptop as much as I can with the 12 volt, so I don't have to power my inverter, which I do have, because I do have a microwave, I do have an induction cooktop, and I do have a tea kettle, and I also have an Instant Pot pressure cooker. And the inverter itself also takes power to just be on. Not a lot of power, but it does. For the longest time, I refused to pay for campgrounds. Just wanted to go to dispersed camping, I didn't want to pay the money. However, that is exactly the one place that at least one night I can really get rid of all of these limitations. For the most part, let's say 80 to 85% of the campgrounds will have a place to plug in. You can plug in your power station. I can plug in my van off grid. For one night, it'll pretty much charge up any type of battery. Water, if you can hook up with city water, that's great. I don't have that, but still they have water, and a lot of them do have potable water. And for the most part, all of them do have showers, hot showers that you can use. Some of them are paid, some of them are not, but they have them. When it comes to dumping anything, they do have toilets, they do have trash, they do have recycling, they have all of that stuff. And of course, they have dump stations for your gray water tank, black water tank. Especially if you're camping, they usually don't charge you for that. It depends on the campground, but they at least have a gray water tank dump station. And last but not least, they're pretty clean. For the most part, they're pretty safe. They do have rangers that once in a while drive around and make sure people are happy and nothing crazy is going on. And for the one night stay, all of this stuff can be taken care of. I think once in a while, that's pretty worth it to me. I'll see you soon. Check out all these videos up here, or playlists, or whatever, links. Do all the things that you like to do underneath. Like, subscribe, hit the bells, comment, let me know if I missed anything, let me know of any ideas, because in the end, it does help the community out. I'll see you in the next one.